Welcome to the true version of Roblox Pokemon. This is Doodle World, and my journey all started in a lab. And this lab just randomly appeared out of nowhere, and frankly, I don't even remember what happened to me and how I even got here. But right off the rip, I was introduced to the Doodle co-professor who broke down doodles, and this whole key hunt that I could actually enter if I accepted a starter doodle, in which, of course, I do. I'm brought over to the interface and it loads up, revealing my choices. I am given the choices of Pubsky, a balanced ice type, Vip Ember, a fire type bulky mage, a Tabolt or a Tabolt, a spark type speedster, and finally a Scrappy, an earth type bulky attacker. And I decided to choose Tabolt for no reason really, just really like fast, frail, and hard-hitting electric types. And if you can guess my favorite Pokemon from that description, I will pin your comment. Now, hopefully I didn't reveal that answer in a previous video, but oh well, either way. So I would then go on to fight the professor and his Tortoise, and it was pretty easy to win. But then the real person came in, and it was some bratty rich kid named Quincy. He storms in with his butler and tells me to fork over my Tabolt, and I just was like, no way I'm doing that. You are absolutely freaking out. You're absolutely tripping if you think I'm just gonna give over my Doodle. And we ended up having a Doodle battle for it, and of course I would win, because honestly this was nothing for me. I'm a real gamer, I'm like that. So I was able to defeat Quincy easy peasy lemon squeezy, and obviously I don't mind taking money from a rich kid, so I yoinked over his money. And of course I did fight him with my Tabolt, and he had a Sheldo or something like that, and it was an easy win for the good guys, and he forks over $1,500, and let's be honest, I just easily destroyed him in this battle. It was whatever, so I made $1,500 off of doing nothing. And honestly, after the fight, his butler Reginald, I mean, he actually gives me some good info, and it's on like the closest key or something like that. And the professor would even give me some capsules so I can catch some more doodles, and also a Doodlepedia. And Reginald, I'm not gonna lie, I would like him to come over to the good side, because he sounds like a pretty cool dude, and I'm a big fan of awesome butlers, like, you know, my boy Alfred, but that's kind of beyond the point. So then I would go to Route 1 and get taught how to catch some doodles, and I end up catching a rosebug. And frankly, catching doodles, it's not too hard. It's not too anything crazy. I mean, it's a pretty simple thing. I would then open a chest and find something that must be related to Doodle Co, because it seems like they love throwing away money, like giving me a free roulette ticket that gives me one random doodle on a wheel. Which the wheel kind of confused me, because I'm not gonna lie, I don't know where the hell it appeared from, but I mean, I end up getting a Junparo or Junpyro, and it kind of looks pretty cool, but it also just appears in my party out of nowhere. And honestly, it does seem like one of the better options of all the choices that I could spin for, so I'm really not here to complain, not one bit. I would then go on to catch the rest of the doodles on the route, and obviously this would be a pretty basic task, but I would even end up running into a shiny Borbo, and honestly I have no idea if this is super rare or anything like that, but after the fact I would end up catching a Bunsweet. And then yeah, it was a pretty basic event, and this big Bunsweet did look very similar to like this, or a giant kind of like bunny rabbit. It was kind of creepy, I'm not gonna lie. Something that you would probably see in some like YouTube short horror game or something. I don't know, but it looked pretty freaking creepy to me. I would then store some of the doodles that I didn't really want in my party at the moment, and took on a trainer who had a Niblin and also a Rosebug that would easily be taken down by my Tabolt or my Tabolt, and also my Junpyro. I would go on to clear out the rest of Route 1, the Tamers, and all of the above, and even go to find myself a new doodle known as Minjul. And it was a Spark and Beast type doodle, and it was pretty interesting, but I don't really have that many kind of expectations to actually utilize Minjul, at least not at the moment. Maybe in the future, but for now I will hold off on it. At the end of Route 1, as I was going to enter the next gate, I was confronted by a very odd person because she would just crash into me out of nowhere. Of course, she introduced herself as Anari. Supposedly this wasn't her actual name, but that was the name that she was going by. And frankly, I didn't really care that much. It was kind of whatever. I mean, you bumped into me, it's fine. Just say sorry and we'll be on our way. But of course, she made a pretty big deal out of it. And, well, yeah, it was an accident and all, and I kept trying to tell her that, but of course she went on this long tangent about how it was against her shinobi code. I don't know, code 8 or something, I don't know, but it was something like that. And she said if I lose a doodle battle that I couldn't say anything to the elder, and I don't understand how she thought I was even supposed to talk to the elder, but of course I'm gonna take whatever training I could possibly get, and supposedly she's a shinobi, so hey man, I'm down for a little bit of shinobi training. And in a battle, she revealed a Kitsen, and I'm not gonna lie, this doodle looked absolutely awesome, super adorable. Honestly, I could just squeeze it so hard until it pops, but that's beyond the point. Sorry about that. But my Tabolt was, you know, easily able to defeat the Kitsen, like very easily, and she freaked out after losing, and she gave me like equipment. And she was like, oh, you know, if I give you this equipment, and blah, 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 like, you won't say anything, right? And, like, the equipment will make you stronger. And I'm like, okay, like, sounds good, thanks. And supposedly, it would actually make my doodle stronger if they were utilizing it. And I would actually take a look, and it would actually be a katana. And I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of freaking dope that it's a katana. I don't know how my doodles are going to utilize the katana, you know, without most of them not having opposable thumbs, but hey, you know, we'll figure that out when we come to it. But it does give stat bonuses to any doodle, so it definitely benefits my doodles massively. Now, this would finally allow me to enter Route 2, and I would start the process of just clearing out all the tamers and catching the 2 doodles that were unknown to me on the route. I would catch a Nibblin, and then I would come across another ticket that would allow me to actually get a Scorpent. Then finishing off the route, I was able to catch a Plippo, catching all the doodles in the route. It would take me a little bit longer than Route 1, but it was nothing too insane, nothing too crazy. I would clear the items and, you know, the tamers, and it would be a pretty easy kind of walk to the next exit or entrance, however you want to look at it. And finally, I would arrive at Lakewood Town, where there would actually be a person waiting for me, or kind of waiting for me. At least they're waiting at the gate. So I would meet him, and he would ask some questions about if I'm a new tamer and such and such. And then finally, he introduced himself as TJ, someone who has been living in Lakewood for the past few years. So I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. Like, maybe I could learn something. Maybe you could show me around. So he would end up actually leading me and giving me a tour of Lakewood, in which I was able to see the bike shop, the lake, the broken down subway, and also the doodle station, where I could actually heal up my doodles and also shop for some items that I may need in future endeavors. While in the doodle station though, I would hear breaking news on the TV, and the Doodle co-CEO Charles was addressing the natural disasters happening, and just like most news, it wasn't very informative. So I would heal up, buy some basic capsules, and start the process of catching things on the lake. And I would catch basically a tadpole, or a tadpole, or a tadpole, or something like that. But after a long period of time, I would struggle to find the last doodle, who is known as Moss, which suddenly went missing or went away for a while because of the storms. But with a bit of struggle, I was able to finally find Moss. And also, it seemed that some people were genuinely happy to see that Moss still existed, at least in the lake. Maybe it was something to do with enjoying what was in the lake, and also something to do with the fact that it was sad for them that a prized possession for their lake was just now missing because of some natural disasters. But after that was all said and done, and I brought some life back into Lakewood Town, just a little bit of more life at least, I explored the rest of the town, grabbing some chests, and it felt like it was now time to head on to basically the next route with my doodle team. I began the process of taking on all the tamers, and even fought in my first double battle. That went honestly pretty smoothly, and frankly I didn't have many issues, showing that I was definitely getting more comfortable in battle with my doodles. I would look to basically head off to the next route, but it seemed that there were power lines blocking the way, and the Doodle Co engineer didn't seem to be inclined on getting them fixed ASAP. And it was kind of awkward because I did hear him literally say like, oh, by the way, I'm not going to do this. Like, I'm just going to say it's going to take a couple weeks or whatever. And it's very awkward. It was dumb. But then out of nowhere, it seemed someone would approach us while we were just chatting, and I was trying to get him to basically clean up the mess. And I would eventually learn that this person was known as Mr. Riffraff, a pro Roblox player. Well, not only that, he was also supposedly a criminal, and TJ told me this as well. So we headed off to the location of his home base because, well, TJ is convinced that he actually kidnapped the Doodle Co. employee, but of course, that's not really what happened. But I tried to tell TJ that, but he was convinced, like hands down convinced, that this was a flat out kidnapping. So I kind of just went along with it and was like, hey, you know what? Yeah, let's go to the hideout and stop him, sure. Nonetheless, though, we did try to basically enter the hideout area or the sewers, but we were stopped by number 2 and number 3. I feel like that's a ripoff from somewhere. I feel like maybe when I was a child, I read a book, something similar, but that doesn't really matter very much, at least not at the moment. And I was basically forced into taking on number 3, defeating his party bug, with a bit of struggle, actually, being that it's pretty damn powerful, and also a rough fire who actually went down a lot easier than the party bug. TJ seemed to be struggling though, so he told me to go off on my own and save the Doodle Co engineer. But honestly, I was still kind of confused about the whole point of saving the Doodle Co engineer, but whatever. I eventually arrived at the lair of some sort, and Mr. Riffraff was pretty welcoming, giving me a tour of the place and even giving me a tamer helper, which will give me XP for all my doodles, even if they aren't even fighting, which will help me a ton when I'm trying to power level. Oh, you have no idea how amazing that is going to be. Now, I did decide to kind of stick around probably for a little longer than I really should have, doing the various things that were shown to me, but after a while, TJ finally came in after me and was freaking out because I wasn't staying on task with capturing and stopping Mr. Riffraff. But to be fair, I tried to tell him that everything was fine, but he kind of just was in his own world and not listening. But as we tried to leave, Mr. Riffraff wouldn't actually let us leave, so maybe he isn't that good of a guy in the first place. Well, nonetheless, he forced me into a battle, and he was decently tough, but my Borbo took down his number 4. Then he sent out a party bug that my Tabolt would end up defeating, and for his last doodle, he would send out his draw mask that barely defeated my Tabolt, but luckily my June Pyro had no issues finishing the job. Mr. Riffraff would say that it was definitely a fun battle, but would end up just disappearing before the arrival of someone named Tennyson, who is more powerful than you could really possibly ever imagine. He promised to deal with the power lines blocking our way using a doodle that was way stronger than anything you could even imagine, so strong that we couldn't even see it creating complete darkness. I feel like that's a bit of a budget cut there, but that's, you know what, that's fair enough. But he cleared the area and gave us information on these natural disasters. Basically that they were mostly caused by key guardians that felt threatened or feel threatened that they were going to lose their key or title by two other tamers. He would head off, and with this, it would allow us to head on towards our next destination, to the next key, or to a key. But before that could even happen, someone would confront me claiming that they were the president of the Quincy fan club, but supposedly they were also associated with Doodle Co. So that's a little bit weird. And I was confused because this was the same person that I dealt with earlier. The rich kid with issues has a fan club. Like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, this does not sound fun at all. They challenged me to a battle, and well, of course I won, like with ease, defeating a Squeed or a Squeed, I don't even know, and a Borbeck, and finally a Glummish. And it felt so good destroying someone who supports that annoying kid. Like, genuinely, it felt like the best experience possible. But then obviously after this battle, we actually had some other things happen, which was actually an evolution, 2 evolutions actually. One of my Borbo, who would evolve into a Borpeck, kind of what the other fangirl was using, but mine looks so much cooler because, you know, it's shiny. And my Tabolt would also evolve into a Bengalux, which, by the way, looks freaking awesome. My Bengalux looks like a damn panther now, or my Tabolt into a Bengalux looks like a panther. And it basically made my party of Doodles just that much stronger. But after all is said and done, and after she, I guess, stood there and watched me evolve my Doodles, I don't know, she would then spew some nonsense about letting me be friends with Quincy. Like, girl, I don't want to be friends with Quincy. Like, get on. Like, I don't want to be friends with that dude. And then she would just, like, teleport away. But in the corner of my vision, I was also able to see someone in the distance, and that was Mr. Riffraff, and also his goons, making me wonder, what were they really plotting? But Route 4 is obviously the next step in my journey to getting the keys, but honestly, there's a lot ahead of me and a lot to do. The keys are just one objective, but it seems like I'm getting thrusted into something that I didn't really bargain for in the first place. But for now, this is where my journey is gonna take a pause, and I would love to hear what you guys have to think about my journey so far. And also, I would love to hear some names you guys would like me to name my Doodles, and different Doodles I catch along the way. Maybe it's your name specifically that you are the person that's commenting, or maybe it's a name that you would like. Make sure to pick the Pokemon specifically that you would like, and the first one I see, I will name it after them. And we'll do a little bit of a recap of naming different Doodles as we go. But yeah, if you have any names and you ever want a future name implemented to a Doodle, please comment that down below. That's how I'm going to get you guys involved with this journey of mine through Doodle World. And like I said, if you enjoyed, make sure to show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. And I hope you enjoyed this video on Doodle World, the true Pokemon Roblox experience. Hope all you guys have an amazing day. Later.